everyone, and welcome to Top Secret. We have
Sean Ophir, hi guys.
and I'm Boz Fisher, and today's topic is going to be what is the difference between user risk monitoring, user activity monitoring, and user session monitoring. So let me ask you, Sean, can you sort of define those three different sorts of monitoring and what they actually mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we can, if we wanted to refer to the real life examples, we can look at normal CCTV. So we can find CCTVs everywhere, in parking lots, on the streets, almost in every corner. And the CCTVs, well, its main purpose is to capture and record everything that's happening. So if something happened, if there is any investigation going, take for example the police, if something happened, an accident or something in that perimeter, the footage can be useful for investigation. However, you need to know and you need to replay hours of footage to find the exact incident.
That's true.
When you talk about user activity monitoring, you take the same CCTV, but that CCTV also index everything that happens. So it captures the footage, but it says exactly what cars we see, what colors we see, where the people are going, what jackets they're wearing. So it indexes all the details. So not only that we have the footage, but also we have the details. So we can actually search by specific elements. When we talk about user risk monitoring, that's something else. This is the footage with all the index, so we have all the facts, but we have also some context. So for example, when we look at our babies, we watch them doing certain actions. These are actions. Our mind digests all these actions into a pattern, which we can call it a behavior. So user risk monitoring is looking at all the actions, all the activities, but on a higher level, to understand the context and the pattern of these actions to determine whether there is a risk. Whether it's intentional or unintentional, it doesn't matter at the moment, but we can assess people's behavior. I think that's the main purpose of using the risk.
So from a digital context, because I think what you've explained is great from a sort of behavior outside, but from a technology context, when we talk about activity monitoring, we're talking about the ability to gain details about what the user is doing, correct?
Exactly. So when we look at a lot of corporates, for example, they have their employees. Now these employees have privilege to access different systems and infrastructure, and they are given a trust to do their job. They have access to different critical assets, critical infrastructure, and they have access to sensitive information. They are given the trust at the beginning when they start work, but it's difficult to understand on a daily basis what they're doing if something has changed during their legitimate work that can pose a risk to the organization. Again, could be intentional or unintentional, it doesn't matter. The fact that organization needs that capability to determine a user risk or a user cyber risk at any given moment.
Correct.
And that's the user risk monitoring, to monitor the risk that people posing on the organization. That also enable, if we take it to a higher level, enable organization to predict the risk before it's happening.
Exactly.
And that's the highest level and the best approach to protect against insider threats or insider risks.
So in some ways you've actually answered why monitoring is important. Did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, look,
Why is continuous monitoring? Because we don't just want to monitor a point in time and say, yes, we understand that situation for a day, but we don't need to do any more monitoring.
No, I guess when we want to understand people behavior is a continuous mode monitoring. So you can't really determine a risk when you're looking at the person for one day. Some actions can be seen as very legit during a day. But for example, let's take a fraud, for example. Fraud is been executed over time, long time. So these are a lot of legitimate actions that usually are not flagged by any system. In fact, the organization allow the users to do their actions. But a fraud can be determined on a long term, during a long term of observation. And then we can see anomalies. You can't really determine anomalies based on 1 or 2 days, obviously.
Yeah. When would you use session monitoring?
Well, session monitoring usually, I really compare it to CCTV. Record user sessions, record their digital actions, and forget it. So if something happened, we can go back in time to the footage and start to play sessions. In many organizations, this is a ticking a box for compliance reasons, not really for proactive measures.
Yeah. Is there confusion in the market right now in terms of, for example, user behavior anomaly detection or user behavior entity as such, where what an organization is trying to do is capture and get a lot of information, metadata from different disparate systems and try and make a sort of heads and tails out of it. But the way we've talked about quite a bit is when you get, if you're just focusing on logs and collecting logs from systems, then you're missing a critical part.
Absolutely, absolutely. And whoever watched that video, think of your laptop. So you give that laptop to someone to work. And that laptop logs everything. Obviously, you have the event viewer, or if it's Unix, you have all the system logs. And these logs even are sent to a log repository, or even your Splunk, ArcSight, or any other SIEM. Now, imagine that person that you gave the laptop to opened some applications. He opened some Excel spreadsheets, Notepad, edit some files, maybe have a quick chat on Telegram or WhatsApp or Skype, sending some emails, writing some emails, maybe deleting some of the emails, maybe he regret offset some words, and then close all the windows and hand back that laptop to you. Can you really tell what just happened? Looking at all the logs, that's a major problem. This is a major challenge for organizations. They traditionally they took those SIEM and log repositories, applications and systems to gather all the white noise that come from a lot of systems. Some of this noise is valuable, but most of the noise was designed, all these system logs was designed by developers for debug purposes, not really for us to understand what's happening. So these logs don't tell people's story, it tells system story. And for understanding people's story, we need a system that will collect people logs, not system logs, and
yes.
that's the main difference.
Oh yeah, and we've very much talked about the whole idea that when you're getting logs, you're just getting the symptoms of what's happening, but not actually the root cause or the root problem of what's actually happening. So, totally agree with you. Is there anything that maybe I should have asked, I haven't asked, or is there a last thing that you want to add to this conversation?
I think it's not a question that you should have asked me, it is a question that each one of you should ask yourself. If you experience insider threat concerns or fears, insider risk issues, maybe experienced a breach, think yourself, what are you doing today to understand people's actions? What are you collecting? What data you are digesting to understand what people are doing? And more even, I'll take it to the further, what do you do to prevent it? So that's a good question, and this is actually what we do. We help organizations understand and predict the human risk before it even occurs, so that's the best impact prevention to businesses.
Excellent, Sean. With that,
you.
look, thanks again, and we'll be in touch. Cheers.
Absolutely. Cheers.